Guys, we're excited to show you this clip from our recent masterclass with the flipping genius himself, Jerry Norton. For the next 42 minutes, he's going to be sharing his top lessons for real estate investors, whether you're just a beginner, starting out, or you're seasoned pro. Here it is. We'll do this, guys, the same way we kind of do every class. Jerry and I were kind of talking about what we would teach on tonight, and what we came up was, what are some pitfalls that keep people from becoming real estate investors? Because we've got a group, and you guys who are here every week know that I'm constantly encouraging people to do more real estate deals and to get people to move towards becoming real estate investors. And so we thought we'd just have some discussion topics about how to implement some of that stuff.
Eerily knows a little too much about us for some reason, but yeah, I think this is a great topic because at least a lot of the people that I work with, you think about the idea of real estate, you get pretty excited about it, you go through this honeymoon phase. Most people start to deep dive education, and it's just so exciting, right? You're learning all these new things, and it just feels like this whole world's opening up to you. And so but then that wears off very quickly when at times when rubber hits the road and it's like, okay, well, now I got to go out and like do something, and wait, I got to talk to sellers, and wait, most of the people I talk to tell me to go pound sand, and wow, I got to make a lot of offers. And then even when I get a deal, maybe it's not a deal. And so the reality sets in real quick. And then what happens is a lot of people, they crash and burn. They just never make it to that proof of concept. They never get that first deal. And it's sad to see so many people come in with starry eyes and all the dreams in the world, and then they never actually see it through to becoming the very thing they set out to do. And they go back to what's comfortable and easy. I think this is a conversation worth having because it's the reality of what happens every day.
Obviously, you're a little further along in your journey of community building, and you have a massive and incredible track record of bringing people alongside of you. And I mean, there are people that I actually know that have gone through your course, and I've seen them blossom into incredible real estate investors. And it's really been life-changing for them. And so I've enjoyed getting to know you and watching your content. And even though I've been doing it for 25 years, I still learn from the content that you put out there. So how do you think through and encourage people who are in your school or that you're a mentor to get off of dead center, to take action? And this is something that we're constantly thinking about. And how do we invite people to partnership, encourage people to do more real estate, and then what's effective to get people to take action and to move?
Yeah, it's really interesting you asked this, because what I honestly believe is what it takes to do this and do it well is probably 80% mindset and like 20% skill set. Now, if I lead out with that, then I lose everybody. Like if I tell people, hey, I'm going to do some content around mindset, nobody shows up, right? Or very few people show up. If I tell them I'm going to show you the 5 steps to get your first deal, everybody shows up because they think that it's a tactical thing they need to learn. There's some kind of like, man, if I had the right script or only the right contract or only the right list, then I would be successful. And the reality is it's not that. I mean, you need that, but that's only 20%. The 80% is the real estate between your ears. So what I do, Robbie, is I kind of lie to people and I tell them, hey, I'm going to teach you the ABCs. But then when I get them in the thing, then I'm like, okay, you got a scarcity thing going on here. We got to fix your scarcity mindset. You think that the lead you're looking at and the opportunity in front of you is the only deal out there because you have all this desperation you're bringing to the table. And the seller feels that, everybody feels it. I feel it. It's kind of icky. And you're bringing all this negativity without even knowing it. You're subconsciously sabotaging your own success because you have all these self-limiting beliefs that you're bringing to the table. And that's what's hurting you more than anything else. Because at the end of the day, if you take like wholesale real estate, it's not very complicated. Like it's very basic. It's probably like 3rd grade math to do it. You know, it's very basic, but what is it taking? What is getting in your way that's preventing you from actually doing it? Let's uncover that and let's dig that up and let's figure that out. I have this concept I talk about, which is, you're never going to get a deal unless you make an offer, and you're never going to get to an offer if you're not talking to people. So if you reverse engineer it and you're like, man, I'd like to get a deal, but are you getting in front of people? Are you having quality conversations? And are you at some point in time putting a number in front of that seller or agent? Are you getting to that point? And if you want to transact on a regular basis, are you doing that every day? Because if you're not doing it every day, you're not going to get that deal at the end of the month, and you're not going to get one next month. And what you do today is what the deals you do in 6 months, right? Like the the person you talk to today is the deal you close in 6 months, because that's how it works.
Right.
And the thing is, though, is what's fascinating to me, Robbie, is there's a difference between contract price or buy price and offer price. And this is one of the most fundamental things that people get all wrong. They think that when they make the offer has to be a legit offer. It has to be accurate. It has to be on point. It has to be something that you know for certain is a good deal and is going to make money. Now, that's where we want to buy. Like, we're not going to buy unless we feel that, but not make an offer. There's a difference between making an offer and actually signing the contract. And if people could understand that fundamental difference there between the two, then all of a sudden offering on properties becomes this thing where it's like, well, I don't need to be accurate. I just need to be low enough to solicit a response that will tell me if they're actually motivated. And if their response is go pound sand, then I know they're not motivated. I didn't have to waste any time on analysis. On to the next conversation. And this is how you can make 5-10 offers a day, is you're not analyzing the deals. You don't need to. It doesn't matter anymore about the condition and the comps or none of that. None of that even matters. What matters is
the math doesn't matter at all unless it can be bought at a good deal. So you have to first find the motivated seller.
Step one is find motivation. If you can't find motivation, then you don't need to know the numbers.
Yeah. And I think I learned last Monday night watching you and Pace talk about this anchor number, which I had never put that together in my mind. It was honestly the first time I'd ever heard it was last Monday night. You guys are talking about this anchor number. What I had always called it was my run to the bank number. So if I throw a number out there and I get a yes accidentally, then conversation's over. I don't care about comps. I don't care about what it needs in repairs. I'm running to the bank to give them a check, right? That's that anchor number. What you're saying is many people never get to that. They're doing all of this analysis to see what the best deal is, what's 70% of this and how much repairs, and subtract that off. And it's like, none of that shit matters. Excuse me.
No.
Unless you have a motivated seller.
Yeah. I mean, I do these call reviews and I'm listening to somebody on the phone and they're asking them how old the roof is and the furnace. And it's like, oh my gosh, who cares? Do they want to sell at a discount? That's what you need to be finding out right now. Like, that's it.
Yeah.
So like when you talk about that anchor, I call it an anchor, but it's exactly what you just said. It's the run to the bank number. The anchor needs to be three things. It needs to be ridiculously low, that if they say yes, done, over, I got, like, that's a deal.
Yep.
It needs to be ridiculously low. It needs to solicit a no. The point is they say no. That's the point. If they don't say no, it wasn't low enough. And it needs to be a ballpark. Like, it needs to be a ballpark. It's not a concrete offer. I need to be in the low 200s. I need to be around 150. Like, and the way you say it is you say, look, in the perfect world, I would need to be in the low 200s for this to work with me. Now, when you say low 200s, where did we get that? Well, Zillow's 450. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, it's half of whatever the market value is. That's your low anchor. Because if they, like you said, if they say yes, you're like, I got the deal of a lifetime. They said yes, but they're going to say no. And then you follow up and you say, I get it. You know, that's in the perfect world, but how close to that can you get? And let's say you said, I need to be in the low 200s. And they're like, well, you know, I need to be at probably, I could probably come down to like 275. Okay. 450's Zillow, they just came down to 275. You anchored at low twos. Now let's have a conversation. They want to dance. Like, we could probably figure out if we can put a deal. Maybe it's not a deal, but at least I know now that this is worth a site visit. This is worth finding out about condition. This is worth me digging deeper in the comps. But if they come back and they say, you know what? I don't think this is the right conversation. I'm not taking a penny less than 450. And you're like, okay, well, that's the as is value. There's no deal here. Conversation's over. I didn't have to analyze anything.
Right.
And now you know what I mean? Like, we're looking for that 5% of sellers at any given time in the marketplace that are motivated. Motivation means there's something really hard going on in their life. There's urgency. The condition's poor and they're willing to take a discount. They have equity and they're willing to take a discount. That's what we're looking for. And that's only 5, maybe 10% of the market at any given time. So that means 9 out of 10 people you talk to are going to want retail.
Right.
So my goal is to identify that I'm not the right buyer as fast as I can, and get off the freaking phone or get off the appointment and look for the real motivation.
That's something I've done for 25 years. People will come to me and say, "Hey, I hear you buy lots of real estate." And there will be someone that's kind of halfway a friend of mine or a friend of a friend. My comment back to them almost always is, you don't want to sell me your house, and here's why. You only want to sell me your house if there's problems. Are you in a divorce? Are you in a lawsuit? Are you upside down? Are you big trouble? Are you in foreclosure? If the answer is no to all of those things, don't talk to me, because I'm never going to give you the price that's going to make you happy. I want to buy it at half. That's a big thing, guys. If you can learn just that tonight, that it's okay to make the offer before doing any of the work at this low anchor price, this run to the bank price. And then if they say yes, to Jerry's point, maybe your anchor price wasn't low enough. and you
there's one caveat to it. If you're going to do that low anchor and you're going to make that half of Zillow offer, they will run you off the porch with a shotgun. You know, they're going to be offended. They're going to F-bomb you. They're going to be upset if you didn't build rapport first. So I've never had somebody offended at me on my low offer, my anchor number, if I did a good job building rapport. And when I say build rapport, meaning that I help them feel like I can be the solution to their problem. Like, I can help you get out of this problem. I think I can solve this problem for you. And I show empathy. Man, that sucks you're going through that. Help me understand what's going on here. I'd love to see if I can help you with this. And if they feel like Jerry's the guy that's going to solve my problem, and I've already had that emotional sale happen with that person, then they may not come down to my number I need to be at, but they're not going to be offended. They're not going to run me off when I make that low offer. Now, if I get on the phone with an agent and I don't establish a relationship and I just make a half of their list price offer, they're going to be upset. They're going to be like, dude, you're just lowballing me. We're done.
Right.
But if I can get that agent to understand and we come to a logical conclusion as to why my number's what it is, because we talked about value and condition and we talked about, you know, why I would need to be here. Like, I came to a good reason why, then now no one's offended. And it's just a matter of, can we put a deal together? Does it make sense? Right.
That's perfect. That's right.
You've got to make that connection with people, because if you think about it, Robbie, I've really thought about this a lot. When you think about like a motivated seller situation, right, where this property is causing them stress and anxiety, they're bleeding on it or whatever's going on, and they need rid of this property because it's causing them pain. The number one motivator for people is pain right now. The second motivator is pain later. It's pain. Pain now and pain later are what are the two most motivating things for people. So if I can help that person feel like I can solve your problem, and they, in their mind, they make the transition, okay, Jerry's the one that's going to solve this problem. Now price is just like secondary. It's not even an issue anymore. I'm going to get the deal at my number because they've already mentally decided that I'm the solution to their problem. So the transfer happens at the point of contract, not the closing. The closing is just confirming what they already decided, which is I'm going to solve their problem. The emotional experience happens not at closing when they get the check, but at the contract when they decide I'm going with you because I feel like you can solve my problem.
Right. When you are talking to a new person who wants to become a real estate investor and they're following your lead, setting the anchor price, and they're going through all of this stuff, that first time that this person gets hit with rejection can crush their soul, right? You and I maybe are wired differently. Like today I went to an auction and I didn't win the property, and I left there thinking, oh my God, this is so great that I didn't win this property because I'm so much more likely to win the next one. And had I done a better job, actually today, had I done a better job, we would have won the property. So I felt really good about losing. And I think I'm wired differently, but how do you, as a coach, as a mentor, teach people or encourage people to get past that? Because I think this fear of rejection is crippling for people.
I wasn't happy about it.
Yeah. I mean, the only way to really make that normal is you just got to go through it, because you and I have been going through it for me 20 years, you 25 years. And prior to when I did real estate, I did a church mission where I knocked doors, you know, so like I learned really early on that that's part of the game. People who come from a sales background, they tend to do really well in real estate because they understand that it's a numbers game. It's just, you got to put the reps in. What happens is you take somebody who does not know how to not personalize rejection. I mean, why is it painful? Because you're taking it personally.
Right.
When that person rejects you, you're making it mean something about you. You're not good enough. You feel stupid. You look stupid. They're rude to you. And that's fine. It's easy to let that roll until you make it mean something about you. As soon as you make it something about you, you're going to feel crappy, and then you're not going to get back on the phone. You're going to quit because you feel so bad about it. So you have to tell yourself, okay, if I'm getting into the business of buying good deals, then that means it's the needle in the haystack. I got to be like Robbie and know that 9 out of 10 people are going to tell me to go play in traffic and F off, right? Or 99 people. And Robbie's just going to roll with it because he knows that that's the game. But Robbie also knows that everyone that says no, he's that much closer to a yes. And Robbie also knows that there's a deal for him. See, if Robbie believed that I'm on appointment with a seller, or I'm on the phone with a seller, and if you have a scarcity mindset, what you're saying to yourself subconsciously is, there are no deals. There are no deals in the market, and I have to make this deal work. Because if I don't make this deal work and we hang up, I got no deals, and there's probably no deals, and I don't even know if this works. And Jerry's full of shit because it works for him, but he's a pro, and Robbie's been doing this, but it doesn't work for me. And the agent just told me there's no way I'd get a deal that low. And everybody's telling me it doesn't work. And maybe I'm crazy. And so you're talking yourself into this scarcity place. And the reality is there are deals everywhere. They're all around you. It's probably the next phone call you get on. So then you approach that, you bring that energy much different, which is like, oh, it's not for you. I'm not the right fit. Of course I'm not the right fit. I'm only the right fit for 5% of people anyway. So it's okay. Oh, you're upset? Well, that's okay. I'm not the right buyer for you.
Amen.
That's all, right? Like you have to
right.
normalize it.
Yeah. And I think for me, it's even less than you said, right? Like, so it's 10 out of 100 deals could be something I buy. And then in my experience, I only buy one of the 10. Even when I'm making the offers to the right people, guys, and setting my anchor price and expectations and all of that stuff, or going to auctions where I should be as a real estate investor, I still only get 1 out of 10, but it's more than enough. It's more than enough, right?
But see, that's a mindset thing. It's not a script. It's not a skill. It's not a, you know how to analyze deals better than the next guy. It's not that. I mean, that is a factor. I'm not saying that. Like, you do have to know how to underwrite a deal and know what it's going to cost to fix it all. You got to learn those things, but that's just secondary. What's primary is that Robbie's not afraid to make an offer half of value, and he's not afraid of a seller being upset about that. And he's not afraid to do that 100 times to get that one good deal. You're not afraid to do that. You're willing to do that, knowing that that's just the process and it's all okay.
How do you explain to somebody with limited mindset to get out of that? Hey, you're going to get rejected. It's going to happen. You just got to keep pushing to the next deal, to the next deal, to the next deal. And obviously they don't have the background he has or you have. So, and they have to start today. They can't take 2 years off and go for it.
You just have to get on the phones and get the reps and take the rejection and make it okay. Doesn't mean anything about you. Get on another call. Don't be so desperate that you're like, what I see people do is like they have an interested seller and then they latch onto that. And next thing you know, they're on the phone for half an hour, and they're like asking about the roof and stuff because they're afraid. They don't know how to make a deal, or they'll call me up and they'll be like, I saw this one deal down the street and I've knocked on the door. I've talked to the neighbors. How do I find the seller? And I'm like, you're wasting too much time. Who cares? Talk to somebody, talk to 5 more people. By the time all the work you've done to maybe find that person, to maybe they're motivated or not motivated, I've already talked to 10 more people. Like, stop being so desperate about a lead. Get on the phone, get a list, get it, like, just talk to people.
Has it ever been more apparent in your life after moving to Puerto Rico? Like, I get this question now at least every week. Hey, I've found this great house. It's vacant. It needs a real estate investor. And you're like, yeah, it does. It probably has 25 heirs and you got to go hunt them down. Unless it has a for sale sign on the door, move on. This is what you're saying. It's like, you can't waste all of this time or you'll just get caught up and doing so much work and putting so much effort into these things that are never going to materialize.
I'll get a list of seller leads, call them absentee owners with high equity, whatever. And I'll get on the phone and I'll say, is this the address? Yes. Okay. Are you the owner of that property? Okay. What do you want for your house? Number. Okay. You know, like I'm asking them what their price is. And then I'm like, okay, I Google the address. I'm like, okay, Zillow says 450, you know, in the perfect world, I would need to be in the low 200s. And then I see what they do. I'm not overcomplicating everything. I'm just trying to find motivation. That's all I'm trying to do is find motivation. Of the 5% that are motivated, then I'm doing what you just said, Robbie. Okay, listen, let's get a deal together. I'm going to have a contingency in here. I haven't seen this property. Assuming everything is what you say it is, we'll move forward and I'll buy it. If we get out there and it's not what you say it is, then we might have to have a new discussion because I'm assuming that I'm going to fix it up, but you know, if it's got a foundation issue or whatever else is going on, that might change. So tell me, is there something going on with this property that I should know about before we send our team out to look at it? No, there's nothing going on. Okay, well, my number should be a good number. We're going to send someone out there. So I just do the thing I need to do right now. Then I do the next thing I need to do next. And then I do the next thing. And I don't get that all messed up. I have people that are like, they come into my program and they're like, hey, I called an agent and I got an appointment tomorrow and we're going to go out and look at the property. I'm like, why? Why are you going to look at the property?
Yeah.
That's a waste of time.
Yeah. You don't know what the price is. You don't know if it's a good deal yet. There's no reason to go look at a property that you can't buy.
And people's minds, they're like, well, don't you need to look at real estate before you make an offer? No, you need to look at real estate before you buy it. You don't need to look at it before you make an offer.
Yeah, that's true.
Barry, if you're on this call right now and you want to get started tomorrow, what do you think the best lists are or types of sellers, or where would people look to get a list?
So like with our new software PropWire, it's totally free. Like you don't have to pay a subscription. We don't throttle how much data you want to download or anything. My favorite list on there is I list stack, and I like absentee owner, and then I stack it with out of state, and then I stack it with high equity. I like that list because, and I stack it with, we have a feature called tired landlord, which all that means is they've owned it for more than 10 years. So if I have a property, the sellers own it more than 10 years, they personally live out of state, there's high equity, I like that list because more than likely that's a tired landlord and it's an investor. So the emotional side is way different than like pre-foreclosure. Pre-foreclosure, they're crying on your shoulder and you know, you got to deal with all that, which is fine. But I'm not a very empathetic person. So I have to really work at that. But if I'm talking to a landlord, then it's like, let's get down to the numbers and let's put a deal together. You're tired of that property. You're sick of babysitting it out of state. What do you want for it? Like, you know what I mean? You can kind of cut right to it.
I just got the best deal of my life 2 weeks ago from a guy, 75. He's been in real estate 50 years. And he's given me a 0% 20-year loan because he doesn't want to manage his rentals anymore.
He's tired of it. Yeah.
He's tired of it.
I love tired landlords. They're my favorites. Private seller or motivated seller lead is tired landlords.
And Jerry, you've done most of your wholesaling and investing, negotiating face-to-face with sellers. That has been your forte. For me, I've gone the other way. I prefer a tax deed and a foreclosure sale and never ever talking to a seller. Like that. I did that for 20 years where it was, if I had to talk to a seller, I was like, that's kind of gross. I don't want to do that. I just want to go to the foreclosure sale and buy the low hanging fruit. There's so many different paths to success in real estate. I think you guys don't have to latch onto one or another.
No.
And live into your personality too, right? Like, cause there is someone out there who's really empathetic and can take the list of people who are in pre-foreclosure and kill it. I'm in business with a guy named TJ in Orlando, Florida, and I call him the crazy whisperer. And he specializes in hoarder houses that are in estates with, you know, the one heir that's alive is an absolute nut job. And he gets them at great deals all the time. We send him in and he just communicates and is empathetic and figures this stuff out. He lives into his personality and he's amazing at what he does, right?
Yeah.
I can't talk to that person for 5 minutes without being like, oh, I'm getting in the car and leaving.
I also really like agents. Like I love agents. Now, a lot of my agent deals are off market. So what I do is I teach the agent how to bird dog for me and how to bring it to me before they list it. And then I offer a cash offer to that seller and it never goes on market. And that's my favorite because that's referral. Now that's repeat. Like that agent will keep bringing you deals because I pay him really well.
Yeah. And how much better is that going to get now that they screwed up the MLS system?
It's better.
That's going to be even better for you.
It's better now.
Yeah, it's better for you.
It's better because here's why. The buyer side is now negotiated. It always was negotiable, but that was in theory. In practice, the seller paid 3% and it was just kind of a done thing. Well, now it's all got to be discussed up front. So what I do, every agent I talk to is I say, look, when you go sit on a listing appointment with a seller and it's a distressed property, you know, and I know that that's going to be a nightmare to sell. You're going to have showings, inspections, appraisals, contingencies, repairs. It's going to be a nightmare. It's going to be a nightmare for the seller. It's going to be a nightmare for you. Nobody's going to win on that. It's going to be a pain in the butt to sell that distressed property. Tell your seller this. Say, look, I work with this investor. He'll buy this as is. You don't have to do anything. There won't be any showings, appraisals, inspections, none of it. He'll come in here. He'll give us a cash offer. We can close when you want, how you want, and you can leave whatever you want here. Why don't we entertain his offer? And it gets even better, Mr. Seller. He pays my commission, so it costs you nothing. And then I tell the agent, I'll pay you 10%. Now, that means if I want to pay 100 total, we got to tell the seller 90 so I can pay you 10, so I land at 100. But I will pay you 3%, 6%, 10%. I'll pay you anything you want. Now, don't price this out of the deal, but I'll give you my number. We'll build in your commission and we'll get it done. And you don't have to do anything. I'll do it all. You just get the seller to say yes, and we sign a contract. You're done. And you'll make 3 times what you make if you try to take this thing on market. Because if you take it on market, a buyer's agent's going to come. You're going to get your 2.5 to 3. They're going to have to figure out their commission, and it's going to be a nightmare for you all the way through. So now I have agents that just call me with their listing appointments, and they bring me that inventory, and they're doing all the heavy lifting. They found the seller. They went on the appointment. They are doing their own marketing. They become your partner in the deal, and you're their go-to buyer, right? Like they're going to keep coming back for another bite at the apple every chance they get. You're always going to be an option number one. Robbie, I've done 2 wholesale deals now in Palmas where same agent, I did this pitch with an agent. He brought me 2 deals that I wholesaled for $100,000 each one.
Amazing. Wow.
Just one agent brought me something off market. I wholesaled that one for $100,000, brought me another one. I wholesaled that one for $100,000 right here in Palmas. I didn't find these sellers, nothing.
And you structured that as a typical wholesale deal on the island of Puerto Rico? Because we get this question all the time. I wasn't going to go there with this, but because you said it, you're wholesaling deals on the island of Puerto Rico the same as you would in the States where you have a contract and you're flipping the paper? Or are you actually having to take it down and close on it and then wholesale it?
No, a little bit different. What I do is I set up an LLC and then I sell the LLC because I want to run it as a security through Act 60.
Oh, yeah. You've always got great ideas on how to do the Act 60 stuff. I love that.
Yeah, so I don't pay taxes on it.
So I want to touch on one more subject before we open it up to questions. And I think if we can go another 5 minutes or so, I find, and I've made a career on the island of Puerto Rico by telling people that I want to partner with them. And I find it to be a very, very profitable way for me to do business, right? And I want to see where your mind's at with that, because I think it's probably similar. How powerful are these partnerships? Like even in a group tonight where there's, maybe there's 20 or 50 people watching us, the ability for those people to come together and figure out who's got a good skill set and who fits well with someone else and then form partnerships to do more deals. My experience is that that's just like the best way to do real estate. I like being in business with people who I like. I guess.
Yeah. I mean, I look at it like this, Robbie. There are three cogs in the wheel. There's the finders, and they're the people that go out and they bring the distressed inventory to the operator. So the second one's the operators.
Right.
And then the third one is the lenders, people with capital. So some companies have their own in-house acquisitions, like they find their own deals, but for the most part, most don't. Like they either get an agent who's going to call them with deals, or they buy from wholesalers. No, I shouldn't say that. Some do, but like you find a lot of your own deals and then you take them down and they're your deals, right?
Yeah.
So you're probably one of those but if you think about the breakdown, someone's got to find the deal, someone's got to take the deal and take title and operate it, and then someone's got to fund the deal.
Right.
Right. So how do those three people work together? And the more alignment you have with those three, the better you're going to do and the better everybody's going to do. So people need to identify, like, where do I fit in the world of real estate? Do I want to be the finder? Do I want to be the operator? Do I want to be the lender? Where we get misaligned is when people are in the wrong seat. And I see this all the time. I see people that come to me and they're like 60 and they're sitting on $1 million in liquidity. And they're like, I want to go wholesale and make money. No, you don't. That's not at all what you want to do. You just don't know what you want. You want to lend. You want to lend money.
Yep.
And you have money. You don't want to own an Airbnb. You think you want to own an Airbnb because somebody got you excited about that. But like, do you want to be an operator? Do you have the energy? Do you have the wherewithal? Do you want to be dealing with contractors? Do you want to get the call in the middle of the night? Is that you? Do you want to be the guy that doesn't have to own it and just goes and finds deals and you're good at sales and marketing? Do you want to be the one that's got capital and you understand finance and you can raise money and you know people with money and you can bring money to the deal? Like, who do you want to be? But to me, it's one of those three. And the more people get aligned, the better it all works.
Have you, in your experience with community building, and I'm asking this question specifically for our Apex community, we want to encourage partnerships and we want to see more real estate getting done. Have you had good experience getting people to self-identify in one of those three ways? And can you give us some pointers on how we can do that? Because I'd like to implement this where, hey, are you a finder? Are you an operator? Or are you a money person? Whether that's equity or lending, doesn't matter. But what would be the best strategy for us to get people to self-identify?
Yeah, that's a great question. Well, first of all, 80% of people need to start in my mind, as a finder, because unless you have fast cash, I call it fast cash, but unless you have money coming in every month, here's my definition of it, Robbie. If you're living on half of your monthly revenue that you generate, half of it, then you're ready to do other things. You're ready to do some bigger deals. You're ready to think about passive income. But until you're generating cash every single month, then you need to transact and you need to learn how to transact. And so most people identify as that. Like, you need to not take on all this risk and rehabbing and long, big deals and rentals. Learn how to go do sales and marketing, learn how to transact, learn how to identify a good deal, learn how to find a buyer, learn how to do work today and make money in 30 days. That's wholesaling. Most people need to start there. And again, I'm generalizing, but I think most people need to start there, learn how to bring the money in. And then once that money's coming in consistently, now think about, you know what, I think I'm ready for an average speed money deal and do a fix and flip where I'm not going to see any money for 6 months. And then when that's working and you got money coming in monthly, you got money coming in every 6 months, maybe now I should start thinking about keeping something and start getting some cash flow and some passive income. Where everybody gets it wrong is they jump right into passive income and they go get rentals, and they're not ready for rentals. The rentals aren't making them any money because they got to dump it right back into the rental, and they're frustrated.
And they become tired landlords.
And they become tired landlords.
Yeah.
There's a whole list of them. Yeah. So I think people they do the wrong strategy at the wrong time.
I think it's absolutely right. So even in our community, 75-80% of the community is probably at the finder stage, and maybe 10% has become an operator. And then hopefully we're going to find a bigger percentage that will have the money. I mean, I think that's, as far as the community goes, if we could have money to fund all of the great deals,
Yeah.
Well, that would obviously be a very popular community, and that's what we're trying to build, right?
I think, Robbie, in your community, the smartest thing you could do would be to identify finders, operators, and lenders and get everybody in alignment, and then let everybody work together, and
Right.
everyone owns their role, right? Own your spot.
Yep.
And do it well. And don't get shiny object syndrome, which everybody gets. You know, and next thing you know, you're over here and you're over there and you're trying to do creative and you're trying to do an Airbnb and you're this and that. Like, that's the one thing I've done really well, except for the hotel. I've been really good about being a flipper. And
Right.
I've owned that, and it resonates. And so for me, the transition is into private money lending, because that's the natural flow from flipping to lending, not flipping to rentals, for me anyway.
Yeah.
And I think most people, that's a misalignment for me, is rentals.
Yeah, you'd rather buy it and sell it. Buy it and sell it. That's you're really good at it. Whether that's a wholesale deal or a fix and flip or even a build and then sell, that's Jerry Norton's forte. You're not really in love with having 100 rental properties and the headaches that come with that. But at this point in life, you might lend to the guy who can operate that business, right?
Right. Yeah. So I want to become, the end game for me is lending. I think if you look at the food chain, the lender is at the top of the food chain.
Yeah.
Not the operator, not the finder. The lender is the top of the food chain.
The lender is closest
get
to passive income, in the most secured position, and generally speaking gets paid first. And even when things go bad, gets paid while everybody else loses, right? That's for sure.
The lender does not get the call in the middle of the night that the toilet backed up. They don't get that call.
Right. That's right.
You get that call. I get that call. The operator
Unfortunately
gets that
for
call.
me, I've done the operator to passive income where we do get passive income on rental properties. It just takes us a long time to get there before it becomes somewhat passive down the road. And inevitably,
it
seems like we get those calls on a Sunday night. I don't know why Sunday night's always the night, but that's when all the toilets seem to back up and they call me.
It's because it's the most inconvenient time for it to happen. That's why.
That's right.
But you know what? But see, Robbie, you're a bit unique. I can think of a couple people I know that on the operator side do flipping and holding pretty well. Most people, they don't, because it's just two different mindsets. It's two different strategies. It's hard to hold an asset where you make $400 cash flow when you know how to flip and make $40,000.
Yeah.
Pretty soon you're like, why in the world would I hold this asset when I know how to transact at a high level? So that's me. Like, I know how to flip and make lots of money. All of a sudden rentals aren't very attractive anymore. And that's most flippers. It's just not attractive anymore.
That's right.
You know, so it's like, I got a friend, Zach Keeps in Arizona, and he's got like 300 single families, and he flips a lot. And he's one of the few people I know that flip at a high level and hold at a high level. You don't see that very often.
We have done usually
do.
one or the other. It is hard to do. And we have usually done one or the other. We're either selling everything or holding everything. We're very rarely selling a bunch and holding a bunch. That's for me, that's been difficult. So for the last few years, we've been holding buy and hold stuff on the island of Puerto Rico. Now, at the end of this year and moving into next year, we've identified, hey, we missed the quick money. And so we're back into the buy and sell as fast as we can kind of mode.
Yeah.
We've got kind of cash flow. We built that up, so that's nice. Hey guys, thanks for watching that clip. If you want to get your questions answered by the experts, join us on Apex and come to our next masterclass.